And I'm muting myself, so it is all yours.
All right, thanks. Okay, guys, happy Monday. Obviously, things are a little different than we've been used to on a normal Monday. So I'm going to start out just by talking about why I'm, somewhat qualified to talk about this. To say like anybody really knows what's going on would obviously be a lie, because I don't think there's anyone that's been through anything like this. But a little bit of background: some of you guys know me, some of you guys don't. Especially the ones at the Markham location probably don't know as much about me. So I've been coaching at Woodbridge part-time for 3 years, coming up in the spring now. I was not like a super competitive athlete, but I was, training 5 days a week. I was, let me just fix this video. Sorry. I was training 5 to 6 days a week, had several clients, coaching classes. I was a fairly competitive athlete, and I was in a fairly big CrossFit competition, like one of the bigger local competitions. And I went from, working a regular job, coaching, training, doing all this stuff, to tearing my Achilles during the competition. And like on top of all of the issues that go along with like a big injury, something like that, one of the main other issues was that it was my right leg. So I instantly lost the ability to drive. And Toronto is basically completely set up for driving only, especially, going to Woodbridge. My parents were in Scarborough. I live in the Junction area. So it's all driving. And my leg was in a boot. So I couldn't even I could get around on crutches, but I was super unsure of myself. I took a little bit of public transit later on, but effectively from day one of that, I was on some level of social isolation already. I was stuck at home. I could kind of communicate with people, but it was mostly just texting, phone calls, stuff like that. And I was unable to, one, go to the gym. That was a big thing for me. Like, I know you guys are all going through that right now, but going to the gym was like a huge part of me, for like, not just because I worked out, not just because my friends were there, but I also got a lot of like life satisfaction out of it because I was coaching people, I was helping people. So I felt like from one end of the spectrum to the other, from being completely useful, helping my community out, feeling good about what I was doing, to not being able to help people, being reliant on other people, and just feeling super helpless. And I think a lot of people are feeling very helpless right now. And that's a big issue. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that and how to control it. Some of the things I realized while going through this, the first couple of weeks, you sort of just like sit there feeling sorry for yourself. It's really hard not to. I mean, day one and day two weren't that bad. It was like, okay, I got a plan. Like, I'm going to like start a bench press program. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then you realize, oh, well, that's going to be really tough because I can't get to the gym to bench press. I don't have any stuff at home. Like, I have one 25-pound dumbbell. So it was really tough. And again, you're just relying on other people and you're just, sort of stuck there. So the first couple days were like, there was some positivity, a lot of emotions. And then by week 2, I realized I was completely stuck in a rut. I was getting up late. I'd turn on the TV and just watch TV for a couple hours, slowly get through stuff. And I realized pretty quickly on, within about 2 to 3 weeks, that like this was a terrible pattern that was not sustainable. And I hated it. The big thing is I hated who I was at the time. I went from leaving, like being at my work from somewhere between 8 and like 3:30 or 4, going to the gym and working out from 4 till 5:30, and then training from 5:30, training other people from 5:30 to 8:30 every night, like locking the gym up, being around people, to just, oh man, like I should, like a literal thing that made me feel better was watching shows that I had never seen before. It was like, not just don't watch TV all day. It's like, maybe watch a new show, not just Office reruns. So I got to a pretty low place that way. And the other side of it for me was, I've said this a bunch of times, I am the most extroverted person I've ever met. So I was just like, there was just so little joy for my life, because I just hated being alone. I'm kind of that guy that's always said, when people are like, oh, I just need some time to myself, like I've never understood how that feels. Like it's never meant anything to me. So I'm telling you that like I understood how bad social isolation was as much as anybody does. So some of the things that started to help me out though, were, one, I realized that this wasn't like a 3 or 4 week injury. And that's kind of where I want to start off with some of the points that we can help. I think a really, really important thing to think about here is like, you have to be very realistic about this. If you're telling yourself that we're in this for 2 weeks, you're probably lying to yourself. And it's going to get really bad if you keep telling yourself 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. That's not going to be a mentally healthy place to be. So I want to set yourself up, whatever that view is for you, to be like, okay, what is a really, what's a sort of pessimistic view of how long this could be on the worst end of things. And I think 3 months is not crazy unrealistic for this situation to go on for. Everyone's in their own unique spot. It's not like, everyone has the exact same thing. If you're someone that's working at a grocery store, you're still going out and seeing people. Whereas if you're, your fears are different. Like your fears are much more about getting sick and getting people you care about sick. If you're someone who's like completely able to work from home and you've like isolated yourself and you've got lots of food and, you've got some workout equipment, your fears are very different. You're not worried about your money right now. You're not worried about, getting sick. You're just worried about like staying sane. So we're all in slightly different boats, but the timeline is going to be very similar for each person. And we want to make sure that you are not lying to yourself and telling yourself this is going to be over fast. All right. With that being said, I'm going to bring this back to like what most of us here, we're all CrossFitters. We've all done things in our lives that we probably thought we couldn't do. And I think this is going to be one of them. So the first thing I want you to look at is this is probably going to be harder than you think it's going to be. At some point, you're going to get to a lower point than you thought you were going to get during this. And that's okay. It's going to suck. You're going to get to a really low point. It's going to be worse than you think it is. But what goes hand in hand with that is you're going to be able to do it. You're going to be able to get through it. So those two things are really interesting. As long as you have both of them together, I think it's a really good piece to have. And literally, I'm just going to bring this right back to CrossFit, where the first day you went in, you saw what people were doing. You're like, there's no way I can do this. This is crazy impossible. Like other people can do this. This isn't something that I can do. And then, you do it. And the first thing you realize is like, man, this is so hard. This hurts so bad. I'm so uncomfortable the whole time I'm here. But I can do it. Like I can do it. It is in me. And it's the same thing when you talk to somebody new and you might've been there where you're like, man, 20 minutes into this like hour-long class, I thought we were done. Like I thought that was it. That was the hardest it was going to be. And we're just like, as a coach, I've been like, sorry, man, like that was just a really tough warm-up today. Like we haven't even started working out yet. Wait till you see what we've got in store. And they just kind of look at me like they're just a deer in the headlights. And they're like, I don't think this is for me. But then they make it through and they have this like crazy feeling of satisfaction of like, oh, like I didn't think I was going to get it, but I did. I got through it. All right. So I think having that mindset is really important. What goes along with that is the positivity that you need. You can't be really negative. You can't be super down on this. You have to be realistic, but you have to be positive. You can say, this is going to be bad, but I'm strong enough to get through it. And again, I want to go back to that same thing. We keep doing that. We keep doing stuff that we think we can't do, and we keep crushing it. That's why it's so awesome to be part of this CrossFit community. If you're a member here, even like members at other places, like doing hard stuff for the sake of hard stuff is what we're all about. And that's what I try and tell people more so now at the beginning when they first sign up for a membership is like, yes, you're going to learn how to squat better. Yes, you're going to learn this thing called a snatch. You're going to hate it. You're going to learn how to do pull-ups. Like these are all awesome things. But the most important thing you're going to get out of this is the simple fact that you're going to do stuff that's really hard and really uncomfortable, and you're going to come out the other end better. And I think if we keep that same mindset, we're going to be able to crush it. And, going back to my injury, that's sort of what it was for me is like the one thing I could rely on is, hey, you know what? Like this is really bad, but people weaker than me have gotten through this. People like a little bit less emotionally strong, people with a worse net have got through this. So I can do that too. So if you think about it that way, you're going to be good to go. All right. Chris, can you mute yourself, buddy?
Sorry, I thought I was muted.
Yeah. All right. Set an example, eh, man? All right. So feeding from that, keeping that positivity going, what I want to talk about is being a leader in your community. Okay. So that actually was a huge thing for me is, when I would feel a little sorry for myself because I was like, I'm at home, I can't move my leg, I can't do any training. It's so easy to start feeling sorry for yourself. Because I was a leader at that community, at the gym, at the Cristini athletics community, I was like, no. I have to set an example for people. I have to show how strong you can be in times like this. And that really helped because it was just like, okay, you don't have a choice. This is the card you were dealt. You expect this of other people. You have to do it for yourself. So with your community, that can be anything. There's a wide range of community here. And I think everyone has a different scope of what their community is. I think the clearest example people are going to see right now is like the little immediate community they're in within their household. So this may be like a small family, a husband and wife, couple of kids. Maybe you've got like a grandparent there, maybe some other family members. Maybe you're like isolated in, like, for me, like there's some people that are like isolated where their house is split into 2 apartment units. So you have like, that's your little community. Whatever your community is, and it doesn't have to be around you. It could be like technologically around you. It could be through Zoom calls. Be a leader, step up, because in that position where you're the one driving the boat, you're the one saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is the mentality we're going to have. It's so much easier. If someone else is trying to keep you positive, it can kind of get a little bit weird. But if you're the one keeping everybody else positive, it's easier. It's just like, this is my role. This is who I am. I'm the positive person. So it makes it super simple. All right. As far as like specifics of this, I want to get a couple of things going. So that's more like the overarching feelings that we're going to have. And you're going to, again, quick overview, we're going to get low points. Don't get super thrown off by it. Like I felt sort of depressed for a couple hours yesterday morning when I got up. I was reading too much about it. I was like, this could be even worse than we think. And then I was like, I caught myself in that chain saying, hey, this isn't really healthy. Like, this is not productive anymore. And I was like, I didn't work out yesterday. I haven't worked out yet today. Maybe I'll just do a workout. So I jumped in, did a little workout. It wasn't much. As soon as I did that, I was like, okay, I burned off energy. I was just sitting at home. And then you catch yourself in that downward cycle. You catch yourself being down and depressed, and you're aware of your emotions. If you can like get on that early, it's going to stop that like domino effect of just cycling through 3 or 4 days. But expect it to happen, and then you're not going to be surprised by it. And you don't want to be surprised by it being like, oh, I'm a super positive person and I'm never going to get sad. You're just lying to yourself, right? You're going to get sad. You're going to get depressed. Be aware of it. Be ready for it. Have a plan. Okay. For like specific actions. So I think this is a really good time to be honest with yourself and like set some goals, because a lot of people have been saying for years that, oh, if I just had a little bit more time, not so much in our community, but I've heard a lot of excuses of, if I had some more time, I could like join the gym, I could get in shape, I could be fit. This is a time to find out like whether or not you're serious about that. Again, you could be saying this about anything. You could be like, oh, I really wanted to learn French for like 5 years now, but I just don't have the time. Well, now you're going to have an answer. Like, it turns out you did have the time and you just didn't want it that bad, right? So I think it's a really good time to set goals, and maybe even just one goal, and make it a very controllable goal of, hey, this is something I've wanted to do with my time for a while, and I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to hold myself accountable. As far as the goals can be, it can be anything that works for you, as long as it's something super controllable and it's not results oriented. So say you're just somebody that's like, I want to work out a little bit more. I've got some time, I want to exercise. The goal is not like, I'm going to go from 0 push-ups to 20 push-ups unbroken off of my toes. Like, that's a dumb goal to set, because you're not in control of that. The goal could be, hey, I want to get better at push-ups. So what's my goal? Okay, I'm going to spend 10 minutes a day doing stuff that will make me better at push-ups. And then at the end of every day, you could ask yourself the question, like, did I spend that 10 minutes? And it's a clear yes or no answer. It's not like, did I get closer to the goal? Like, if you did the thing that you said you wanted to do, you won. If you didn't do the thing you said you wanted to do, you lost. And just chalk it up that way and get it a very manageable goal. I'm a big fan of something like starting really small. Don't say I'm going to work out for an hour and a half every single day, because day 3, you're not going to have motivation. You're going to get to that point where you're like, oh, I didn't work out. I didn't do my hour and a half. And day 4 comes around, you're like, well, I missed yesterday, so I'll miss today too. So keep it super controllable, keep it manageable. As far as the goals go, again, keep the number of goals limited and crush the goals that you have. Don't be like, I'm going to learn French, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to, take 7 sales classes online, I'm going to learn all this other stuff. You'll start super strong and then you'll fade off. Keep it small, keep it manageable. When you're crushing the ones that you've set, then add more, but don't add more stuff until you started crushing the first ones. And then kind of the last part is a little bit more day-to-day. And then this is especially for people that are working from home, or at home still, like, not super worried about their finances right now, but they are isolated and maybe they don't have a ton of work to do, but they need to stay focused. So what I want to say for that is, the first thing you want to do is start building routines. You want to get yourself into a system that can last for a long time. Because like I said, I don't think we're getting out of this in 2 weeks. I think we need to be reasonable with the idea that this could take a while, and we want to set up a routine that can last the whole time, but can also be very productive in the short term. So I'm going to go a few things that we want to just like do every single day. When you get up, whatever your time is, like, set an alarm, get up at that time. That's your wake up time. and make Monday to Friday different than Saturday and Sunday. Don't have like just whenever I get up, I'm going to get to it, especially if you're not being held accountable by your bosses, by your work, you know, that you're checking in on time, you know. So the first thing, set an alarm, get up, build that routine. If you get up in the morning and the first thing you do is you have a shower, keep that going. Don't change that routine. You got up, you get in, you get a shower, get dressed. I can't stress this enough. Do not spend the whole day in your pajamas. It's a terrible, terrible idea. We've had 1 week. It's only been 1 week for most people. Some people were like half a week. Some people have been a little longer. The first week is a little shocking. I get it. It's weird. It was March break. We're building patterns now. And for that, you got to make sure that you are reinforcing those, right? So get up, get dressed. It doesn't, if you wear a suit to work every day, it doesn't need to be like that. It just get dressed, get ready to go. Building on that, have some set hours for yourself. This goes both ways. So if you normally start work at 9, don't start work at 10:30 when you kind of like moseyed on out of bed. Your work starts at 9, you still get up at the same time. Maybe you have a little bit more free time at home. Maybe you like have to get the kids a little bit more ready than normal, but you're still quickly just, you know, you're not quickly, but you're still going through everything, getting it ready. At 9 o'clock, you get yourself set up, get yourself ready to go. As far as how to do that, if you have the option, try and set yourself up in a way where your house is segregated into different areas. If you have the option to work from home or to work from a different room in your house, absolutely you want to be doing that. You want to have that is the room to work from. This is the recreational room. If you know, not everyone has that. I live in a 700 square foot condo. Like it's just, they're in a small apartment. It's not realistic for me, but if it is realistic for you, you absolutely want to try doing something along those lines. With the hours, that goes the other way. A lot of people, your boss is going to just, like, the work doesn't end because it's not 5 o'clock, 4:30, 6:30, whatever your end time is. It's not just going to end anymore, right? We've got like random weird hours now. A friend of mine was saying last week, because they've all been locked down, she's like, for some reason, I'm answering emails at 10:30 on a Thursday night. Like, that's not super productive because then you're never getting out of that headspace, especially if you're working from home as well. So you want to look at it from that capacity as well of, hey, yeah, that's pretty fair. So you want to look at it from a capacity of, hey, like at 6:30, 7:30, my day ends. It's obviously different. You know, if you work in some kind of, like if you're in an emergency service working from home and you're supporting people that are, you know, fighting for hospital stuff, super important. You know, you may be asked a little bit more, but even in that end of the spectrum, you need to give yourself some time off because again, like this could be around for a while. And if you burn out in the first 3 weeks trying to work 75 hours a week from home to show your value, you're not going to be very useful week 4 when you're completely burned out and you have no energy left. All right. Trying to think if there's anything else. Lastly, as far as setting stuff up, I think this is even more important for people that have kids. If you have kids, you need to be super consistent here. You need to still make sure that this is the way the world works. You're making it up. You're making the decisions. They understand that the world has not changed so much that they're just eating ice cream in their PJs at 11:30 in the morning, right? It's just not going to lead to good things. A short period of time will go by before you realize that's bad. So keep them on the exact same pattern. They wake up at a certain time. They go to bed at a certain time. They have certain activities. I don't think it needs to be crazy structured as far as like every single minute of every day. You don't need to be overseeing them all the time. Like you can be like, hey, there's 2 hours of you go playing by yourself or playing with your brother and sister, something like that, where it's like you just have to entertain yourself. And that's totally a reasonable thing. The big thing is if, you know, this was March break. They were due to have a break. Monday comes around, it's like, hey, okay, the world is going back to some level of order. You guys are back being students. You guys have jobs to do. You have tasks to do. Give them chores. Give them stuff to do. Don't make it like crazy ordered, but don't give them a free rein, because what's going to happen is they're going to slowly get away from it. And then when you try and rein them back in, they're going to be like, hey, what do you mean? Like, this isn't fair. This isn't what's been going on for the last couple of weeks. And they're going to be right. If you go 2 weeks without having anything in order, and then you decide to change things up a little bit and like, hey, I want to like control things a little bit better, they're going to be like, no way. We run this show now. So keep the kids in check as much as you can. Keep them ordered. Keep them following those patterns, things like that. So as far as that goes, that was kind of the main things that I wanted to say. I want to open it up to questions. I think we're doing questions over chat. Steve said that's a little bit easier. So do you guys have any questions, any comments, concerns, anything you think I missed, anything I was wrong about. I'm going to open that up now. You should be washing your hair, I don't know, every couple of days, Jenna. I don't know exactly what it is. I know Coach Sanders like pretty ridiculous on that. So something more, as long as you're washing it more often than Coach Sanders, I think you're good. So every 2 or 3 days. All right, guys. If that's it, then I think we could be good to go. I'm gonna give you guys another minute if anybody's got anything else to ask, or just like comments about how life's been going, anything along those lines. And if not, then we're gonna wrap it up. Oh, thanks for saying that, Nicole. Yeah, we're hopefully we can help anybody out. Steve, is there anything you think was missed that could be talked about?
I think you covered a lot of it.
Yeah. Actually, Matt, I'm going to just say, this is the whole thing, right? Like, I think even if you weren't like having kids in March break and stuff, the first week is sort of like nobody knows what's going on. No one has any idea like how to handle it. But now we do, right? Like now we're in it. We know that this is going to get worse before it gets better. We know we're in it for the long haul. So like start developing these habits and don't get yourself into a habit of like, oh, I screwed up yesterday. Today has to be a screw up too. It's just getting back after it again. And like use what we've done at the gym. Like you've had so many bad days. Like for me, I've been doing this for like 7 years. There's been so many days where I've like eaten cheat meals. I haven't worked out when I should have. I've done the wrong workouts. But I don't like quit the next day because it didn't go my way. I just get back up and be like, hey, yesterday was bad. What's going to make it better is making a good day today. So trying to keep that mindset, I think, is very useful.
Yeah, that's true. If I can add something, because basically everything that you just said applies to people working remotely, and I actually work remotely, right? So basically, if you don't organize your day, then at some point you find yourself working the whole day straight, like even 24 hours, because you wake up at 10, you wear pajamas, you don't do anything, you work for like 3 hours, then you have like 2 hours break during which you have some lunch and watch an episode because you feel like doing so, and then you go get back to work for 2 hours, and then you have another break, and then you work for another 2 hours, and then well, it's 10 p.m. and then turns out you still have to work for like an hour. So if you don't build this routine where you actually follow some schedule that you build for yourself, then you're wasting a lot of time.
Yeah. And I do think people are going to be siloed into one of two extremes, and you're gonna find out what you are but most people already know. So one is the side that I'm worried about falling into, where I just get nothing done. That's going to be my natural default pattern, and I've set my life up normally so that I'm so busy that I have to just stay on top of everything. But once I have too much time, I actually get less productive because I'm like, there's no pressure on it. Whereas, you know, if I go and work out when I have like 3 hours to work out, I get nothing done for 3 hours. If I have an hour to work out and I know I'm done, I know I have something to do right afterwards, I'm much better at it. But yeah, my natural default is just super lazy. So you have to set yourself up to be aware of that. For the lazy people, it's going to be really hard to keep yourself accountable, keep moving through everything, and keep getting stuff done. The opposite end is the super type A, like on it all the time people, and they're going to have to do the opposite. They're going to have to reel themselves back in so they make sure they don't burn out. Again, like we said, you don't want to be working, 14-hour days if you're normally working 8-hour days, because you're just not going to last that long. Okay, yeah, just some different ideas of like on the chat of things you can do to get better. Is it Udemy? Is that how you pronounce it, guys?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So the couple of people on the chat, if you guys are watching on Instagram, saying Udemy has a bunch of great courses on there. So if there's something that you want to do, check that out. There's so much content online. Like we all know that you can learn new things online. I don't think anyone's out there thinking like this is impossible, like it's crazy. Like we all know it can be done. You just have to put the time in, put the work in. So finding stuff along those lines will be really useful. And then a couple months down the road when you finish this and you have like this new skill, you're actually going to be happy about it, especially if it makes you more valuable, maybe in the workforce, maybe it makes you a better parent, maybe it makes you a better sibling, whatever it may be, if you could find something that makes you a better, more useful person to society at the end of this, at least no matter how bad it goes, you're going to feel a little bit better about yourself.
Guys, I'd like to add a lot of these kind of ideas and things. There's a book called Atomic Habits. It's a really good book. It talks a lot about making small goals, starting small and building on that. It's a really, really good book. So if you have a lot of free time on your hands, go read that book.
Yeah, I've read that one as well. It's a really good book, and I think basically once a month somebody recommends that book to me, even though I read it really early on. So I don't know any single person that's read it and not loved it. So yeah, Steve's right. Give that a try. All right, guys. So I think that's going to be it for this. I guess Steve is. If there's anything else, Steve will let us know, and if not, we're going to wrap it up.
I'm all good.
All right, guys. So we have a class at 5 o'clock tonight, I think, right, Steve?
There's a mobility class at 1:30 with Alex.
Okay, mobility at 1:30. Give that a go. At the very least, you'll feel a little bit better when you're sitting on your couch for 12 hours. Your back will be slightly less tight. All right, guys. Good talking to you. Stay sane.
Thanks, Rob.
Take care, guys. Ciao.